I'd just like to see Glenn or whoever. Oh, it's Joe today.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Morning.
It is me today, for better or worse. I think I've even got the Facebook Live going. We're working on it. Working on pulling up the Dharma Talk. It's gonna be great.
Leave it down. I don't care if I can. You ever just go like this to your head?
Yeah, sometimes.
Goes all the way down to the shoulder.
Hey, got my Dharma Talk. Okay. Got some water. We'll get started here shortly.
Cool background, Alan.
Thanks. I was playing around with it. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. It seems kind of zen.
Good morning.
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 The doggies didn't like the rain when we walked them this morning,
Mhm.
but they both have raincoats, so they did all right.
My dog sleeps by the bathtub when it's raining.
Aw.
That's funny.
All of our cats just curl up on the bed. We have 5, so it gets crowded.
Mm. Are you ordering some food from some restaurants?
We have been.
Yeah, we kind of do that once a week. It kind of perks you up.
Yes.
Again, I apologize in advance if my cat comes in front of the screen. He's needy, so. But he's Siamese, so what's more Buddhist than a Siamese cat, since they were temple cats.
I like when the animals peek in.
Oh, I know, it's funny.
Dual purpose
If you need a bell ringer, let me know, and just let me know when.
I think I have it covered. If you wanna just ring the bell every now and again just to ring it, that's fine too. I'm not
Okay.
opposed to random bell ring.
I'm always afraid I'm going to do it wrong, and it takes me back to when I was an altar boy and had to be on cue. So,
Well, we haven't done I mean, if you want to do the bell meditation in the beginning, you're more than welcome to.
oh, okay, that's great.
We haven't done that in a while.
I don't think there's any wrong way. Although it is a little bit weird to do it from home as opposed to when we're in the room together. I will say that. I know when I've done it, I have no idea, like, is it too loud? Is it loud enough? Can people hear it?
Well, at least I won't get a death stare from a priest when I ring the bell at the wrong time. So.
That's right.
Oh, I've been working on my death stare through Zoom. You better believe it. We'll give it a couple more minutes just for anybody that is running a little bit late. And then we'll get started. Maybe I've got the time as 9:30. Maybe we'll start around 9:33. Sound good, everybody?
Sound good.
Yeah,
Never seen you clean shaven, Joe.
Oh, yeah, the hospital. Ugh. No, clean shaven and in need of a haircut. Ugh. But yeah, the hospital had all of us shave so that we can wear the masks better, which makes sense. The look my son gave me the first time he saw it, though, that was it was a good look. He's like, "Who are you?" And I was like, "I don't know. Who am I?"
Is that today's topic?
No, I have a fun sermon planned. It's going to
We
be
could
a
all
bit
use some fun.
tongue-in-cheek thing, but I feel like it was it'll be a good just given everything. It'll be a fun little thing.
what you want?
Oh, Glenn.
Jeff Hill just gave us the good reminder of everybody please mute unless you are presenting.
And even the presenter should probably mute.
Today's Dharma talk will be given through mime.
Interpretive dance.
Charades.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. As far as announcements goes, well, first, welcome everyone. I got a or an email from Glenn saying that it's possible that we'll be reopening the center on the 10th, but that's dependent on a lot of different things. But we'll still be doing Zoom services for the foreseeable future, in addition to if we are able to all meet together in the Sangha again. I don't see any other announcements. Does anybody have any announcements?
Not really an announcement, but I would like to kind of poll the congregation on that date and their thoughts. We will have some face masks. I have a friend who makes them, and I've gotten about 5 or 6 myself that I'll have at the center. But just wanted to get feedback from people if you think that's too early. I'm definitely not opening next Sunday, but what thoughts?
Hey, Glenn, I'm making face masks. I had to wait for the material to come in, but I was planning on sending a few more your way as well. And also open to anybody who wants them. I can send extra. I can mail those to you this week. And my thoughts on, this is Mary. My thoughts about opening up are pretty much I'm going to keep doing the Zoom thing, not only because I feel it's safer, but even if the pandemic wasn't going on, I have about a 30-mile commute on Sunday mornings. I find that difficult. So I've been really loving that I'm connected this way to all of you. So that's my thought. Those are my thoughts. Thanks.
Yeah, it's actually been great having you here, Mary. We've missed you at the center, but I know it's a long drive in. Now, Bev, I know will keep doing Zoom meetings. It's a bit of a commute to fly in from Scotland every Sunday. Yeah, Mary, I'll message you and send you my address. Sometimes mail deliveries to the center don't get there. For some reason, the mailman hates going downstairs, and so he just doesn't deliver to us. I should say mail delivery person. I'm old. I'm back in the mailman days, but yeah, I'll message you my address and you can just send them to me.
This is excuse me, I have a tickle in my throat. This is Irene. About opening the center, I think it'd be great. It's just so hard to know what to do. You know, I helped a neighbor up her stairs. I touched her and I'm like, oh my gosh. So, you know, it's also, I think we just have to try things and trust our gut as whether it feels okay. So I will be there when you're open. So thank you.
Yeah, and whatever date we settle on, I'm going to go in and rearrange cushions to provide a little bit more space in between each of them.
Oh, sorry, Glenn, this is Lynn. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi, Lynn.
Hi, you know, maybe before we reopen, I don't mind helping, but maybe a bunch of us could just go in and disinfect, decontaminate things. We should probably be a little bit more cautious about cleaning. Oops, now I can't hear you. I'm not quite sure why.
Because I was talking to mute.
Oh,
which
okay.
which my boss will tell you is my that's my default is talking to mute. Every time I have a meeting with her, she's like, "You're talking to mute again."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. We do have a cleaning lady at the center who comes in and does cleaning, but I think it might be a good idea to kind of get a couple of people together and do a deep clean.
Yeah, and then after, when we're done, we could, you know, maybe wipe off handles and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'll get some extra cleaning supplies to have at the center so that we can do that. That's a really good idea, Lem. Thanks.
Hey, everybody. This is Christy. I've actually met the cleaning lady a few times, and she's really super duper thorough. I saw her just right before everything shut down, in fact, and she was assuring me about how deep cleaning she was doing. So while I think it's a good idea that we do our own cleaning, I just want to put everybody's mind at ease. She's very, very thorough.
Yeah, she really is. And by the way, she tells me like once every month or two how clean we are. She's like, I love cleaning your space. You all don't make any mess at all. You're so clean.
Yeah.
This is Pud. I don't know what should be done about when to open, but I'm certainly in an age group that I'm at higher risk, and I would feel more secure just going with the Zoom.
Yeah, the one thing definitely true no matter what is that we're going to continue these Zoom meetings. While I like Facebook Live, it just doesn't allow the interactivity that Zoom does. It's so nice to actually be able to speak to people and have that interaction. I'm going to have to figure out exactly how to do it in the space so that more people can see each other, but that will be a evolving thing. So thanks for your feedback. We will probably see open up on the 10th right now for anybody who wants to come. But of course, everybody is still welcome to Zoom it for as long as you want. And I was just going to turn it over to Joe as he walks away.
Oh, well, no, I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
No, when we were talking about opening up the center, I was like, yeah, I miss the smell of incense. And I was like, wait, I have incense. Why don't I just burn it? And then you were like, let's start. And I'm like, oh, missed my opportunity. But that being said, why don't we get started? I do believe we have our bell ringer. I have a timer. And so I'm just going to set that. That'll be the initial bell ring because it starts with it. And then we'll go from there. Body, space, and mind in perfect harmony. I send my heart along with the sound of this bell. May all who listen to it be called to mindfulness and transcend anxiety and sorrow. May the fruit acquired by our practice extend to all living beings. We live in the universe connected to all beings. There are those who are in need of physical healing. May they receive care and medicines for their healing. There are those who are in need of mental and emotional healing. May they receive care and medicines for their healing. Among this community, we have the following intentions. Grandfather and grandmother, Edie and Glenn, Big Sensei, Bailey, Evie, Alex, may we hold these thoughts in our minds throughout the coming week. We are aware that our interconnection can extend through space and time, and we send our desire for protection to all. Like the Bodhisattva of compassion, we hear and respond to those in need. For the Heart Sutra, we'll do alternate Heart Sutra number 2, Dave's version. For those that can read along, go ahead and feel free to. For those that don't have the practice guide in front of them, do your best. All things are insubstantial and fleeting. My body is insubstantial and fleeting. My mind, my perceptions, my thoughts, my consciousness, all these are insubstantial and fleeting. This is the perfect wisdom. This is the release from suffering. To reside in receptive emptiness, fixed on nothing, secure in nothing, clinging to nothing, assuming nothing, believing nothing, expecting nothing, excluding nothing, fearing nothing, resisting nothing, isolated from nothing, independent of nothing, always moving, moving forward with the ceaseless flow of the present. This is nirvana. In this moment, we are renewed. May we realize our unity with the universe and be at peace. Swaha. Oh. All right, just give me 1 second to pull up the Dharma talk. Oh, nope, nope. All right. So, good morning, everyone. I want to start off by acknowledging that these are challenging times. The status quo changes almost daily. The nature of relationships is evolving. Things are not what they once were and may never be the same. It is during such times that our beliefs and faith are challenged, and we are tasked with finding new ways of discovering and practicing the Dharma. Despite this, or maybe even because of this, I have good news to share. The Dharma is everywhere if we have the will, the openness, or maybe even the sense of humor to look for it in places we may not be expecting it. It is with that in mind that I bring to you now the Dharma lessons of a great sage, Taylor Swift. Yes, my friends, I am here to present to you the Tao of Shake It Off. Now, as many of you know, my taste in music generally leads me to the Taos of artists and bands of differing genres. However, when truth is uttered, one can either reject it due to misguided pride, or one can allow the truth to penetrate their ego's defenses and then accept it. The choice is there for all of us, and I respectfully remind you that wisdom is owned by no genre, no person, no political party, no gender, and no religion. And so, let us begin. We will begin with Shake It Off verses 1 through 6. I stay out too late, got nothing in my brain. That's what people say. That's what people say. I go on too many dates. but I can't make him stay. At least that's what people say. Mm-mm. That's what people say. Mm-mm. But I keep cruising, can't stop, won't stop moving. It's like I got this music in my mind saying it's gonna be all right. Man, it is difficult not to sing that. Ugh. So here, Miss Swift opens with a prologue of sorts. Similar to some other religious writers, she is open about what others say about her, highlighting what could be considered detriments. In the epistles, Paul does something similar, as does the Buddha in several sutras, opening with, "This is what they say about me." However, she also declares that she is unaffected because she has accessed something special and has something to share. While she is not really ready to reveal it in its entirety, she does leave an appetizer of sorts. It's like, this is her finger pointing at the moon. It's like music in my mind. And that music speaks to her of peace in whatever situation arises. It's kind of like a faith statement of sorts. What they say about me may be true or not, doesn't matter, because I have this music. And that music is what grounds her. End the song. Moving on to Shake It Off verses 7 through 14. Because the player's going to play, and the hater's going to hate. Baby, I'm just going to shake. I shake it off, shake it off. Heartbreaker's going to break, and the faker's going to fake. Baby, I'm just going to shake. I shake it off, I shake it off. Here, Miss Swift makes the assertion that people do what they're going to do regardless of her participation. What are haters going to do? Well, they're going to hate. Sometimes people are negative and there is no way to get around that. In addition to this, the types of people she names fit certain paradigms. Players can be seen as pleasure seekers. Haters are those caught up in anger and aggression. Heartbreakers are those unconcerned with the emotional well-being of others. And fakers could be seen as those caught up in the illusion of the ego and the unchanging self. Going further, the way that she responds to these types of people and what they represent is an amazing illustration of the Dharma. She doesn't let them affect her. She acknowledges them in their action, realizing she cannot control them or their actions, and she shakes it off. In effect, she lets it go. That's the Dharma. But how does she do that? Moving on to Shake It Off verses 15 through 18. I'll never miss a beat. I'm lightning on my feet. And that's what they don't see. Mm-mm. That's what they don't see. Mm-mm. I'm dancing on my own. I'll make the moves up as I go. And that's what they don't know. That's what they don't know. Mm-mm. What she's saying is that she stays present. She doesn't miss a beat. Lightning is also an illusion for enlightenment. The Dorje, or lightning bolt of enlightenment, is seen in many depictions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. She is, in effect, enlightenment moving. Also, for those caught up in the trappings of self and the ever-present distractions presented by the monkey mind, this way of being is impossible to see. And she knows this, and that's why she dances for herself, on her own. And because she dances for no one, she is able to move as she goes. I would argue that this metaphor of dancing is analogous to being completely engaged and present, and also being able to respond to life and circumstances as they unfold. That's what dancing is. It's like being one with the Tao. It cannot be seen, known, or validated by another. It can only be realized by the individual spontaneously. Finally, I will conclude with Shake It Off verses 19 through 21. Hey, just think while you've been getting down and out about the liars and the dirty cheats in the world, you could have been getting down to this sick beat. These final verses begin by attempting to draw your attention. Hey, listen. They then move on to a true statement and an invitation. You've been wrapped up in the trappings of this world. You've been getting down with the liars and the cheats. What could she mean by this? The lie is that of a self, and cheating is living in a world that doesn't really exist instead of falling in love with what is real, the present. And you can get there if you can learn to shake things off, if you can learn how to respond instead of react, if you can dance with life as it unfolds. The Dharma is like music in your head that tells you that everything is going to be all right. The Dharma, my friends, is a truly sick beat. Yeah. I'm not going to lie to you. That was one of the funnest sermons I've ever written.
Thank you, Joe. We needed that.
Yes, absolutely.
No, my son was singing it the other day, and I was listening to it, and I was like, you know what? I can make this work. There are some verses that I did not include. As far as I'm concerned, they're non-canonical in the Taylor Swift mythology. Many scholars dispute their authenticity, and
I mean, I thank you so much for that. First of all, just for bringing some levity and lightheartedness and making us smile. But also, when you were reading and interpreting, I really felt it deeply. There's so many things that really spoke to me. I love that you compared a form of enlightenment or awakening, just relating it to music and dance. I thought for such a long time that dance is a spiritual method, a spiritual thing, and I really enjoy using it as such. And music is something that I also feel brings me enlightenment and on many different levels. And it's just so wonderful. Thank you for making me aware of my judgments and bringing to light that there are so many forms of knowledge that we may not be paying attention to, and we can find it in everything.
Hmm.
The last thing you said, I think is I feel that when I listen to music. I haven't felt that listening to Taylor Swift, but I might reapproach her and see what I can find. But yeah, I think there's a few moments in my life where I felt like the presence of God, and not many, but a few, and I think at least a couple of those have been, music has been involved in that experience. So.
No, and just to be clear, I'm not inviting everybody to go revisit Taylor Swift and mine her songs for gems. However, it is of one of the things that was in my mind when I was writing this is how quick I am to dismiss other sources of possible wisdom, because either I initially assume that they're dumb or vapid, and then what the question for me is, what am I missing out on that I could be participating in as opposed to just rejecting out of hand? So that was in my mind. That being said, I've had very few enlightenment experiences or feeling like almost like the presence of God, like you would describe it. But two of those were when just everything dropped away and I was dancing. And those were magical moments for me. But yeah, I think that music and dance and the way that they can help you enter into your experience are beautiful tools for trying to experience enlightenment or find out what that's like.
I think you're right, as long as we maintain non-clinging to them.
Fair enough.
It's one of those things that anything that brings you that kind of connection and joy and bliss can become a crutch. And we need to make sure we don't treat it that way. One of the things that I've always enjoyed about Zen, as opposed to other Buddhist disciplines, is the emphasis that many traditions have on the monks and priests not being trained just in meditation, but also undertaking some type of physical training, usually archery or something of that nature, and also some type of artistic training, poetry or calligraphy or pottery. And that feeling or that teaching that these type of worldly, quote unquote, pursuits can be part of our training, I think distinguishes the Zen tradition from many others, and also, quite honestly, from many Western traditions as well, which often see anything worldly as non-spiritual. But it's a way of saying, no, these things are useful, they're skillful, but we have to watch out not to use them as crutches.
Thank you for your teaching today, which, as everyone appreciates, was amusing and enlightening. Thank you. I think it's a really good reminder that perhaps it's easy to take the Dharma too seriously, to overcomplicate the teachings, when in fact, the indictment to shake it off might be all we need in that moment. So it's a very nice reminder, if not a rather awful earworm, but still, thank you.
Glenn, when you, I have a question about your last comment. I think I understand, but I want to make sure that I'm clear. So are you saying that anything can become a method of escape, like a drug, that you get attached to the comfort possibly that the method brings you, or you get too addicted to one method of finding comfort and joy as if it distracts you from finding the truth. I'm thinking of music, I'm thinking of dance. Often those things can feel like a drug to me. In one way, they can bring me enlightenment, or awareness might be a better term, maybe not enlightenment, but awareness. But if I get too attached to those, like you can do with anything, with food, with exercise, with anything, they become kind of like a drug, and then the opposite happens. You're mute.
Okay, there we go. Yes, exactly. And I think the standard Buddhist teaching, coming really from the Buddha and from the Theravadan tradition, has been because there's a possibility of these things becoming distractions and obstacles on the path, we will not encounter them at all. And one of the things that I've always loved about the Zen tradition is that it doesn't say that. It says, no, encounter them and learn to deal with them. And I think that's why, to my mind, the Zen tradition has so much more of a connection to the modern world, because we can't all retreat to a monastery. We have to deal with the world around us. And part of that dealing is enjoying enjoyable things, but training ourselves not to become dependent on them. So that that middle way, as Buddhism is often phrased, is so important in our training. Yeah, it's one of the things that when I first read the books on refuge recovery, I really liked Noah's emphasis that no, we're not requiring you to never have a drink again. We're saying start that way because you need to break the addictive habit, but there is a balance that can be reached. It's not necessarily for all people an all or nothing. For some people it is and needs to be, and that's fine. But that's part of the training, is understanding where you fall on these spectrums. I'm not easily addicted to sensual pleasures. I can take them or leave them. Okay, that's great. But I realize that many people are not that way. And that as soon as something starts becoming pleasurable, it increases and increases and increases. And that's why I tend to avoid talking about those issues, because it has such a wide spread for people. Everybody needs to find their own path with the way they approach pleasures of any type.
No, and I guess further on that, or a different take, is that because we're human, say you have your Satori moment, your enlightenment moment, so we'll take the example of, the woman who is going to get a bucket of water. The bucket of water falls. She has her enlightenment moment. After that first moment, there is the temptation to then spill a bucket of water every single time to try and get that moment back. And so, because we're human, if something happens once, we're liable to expect it to happen again. And so I guess when I think about crutches, it's looking for Satori moments in the same place that you found them, to the detriment of other possibilities. Meaning that you find it in dance, and that's wonderful, or you find it in music. But to think that then that's the only place that you can then get that kind of thing, would close you out of so many other experiences, or make you prejudiced to just that experience where others have had different experiences at different times. Does that make sense? Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, Joe, I think that makes sense. This conversation sparked a bunch of different thoughts, but in this context, I relate things back to music, just because it's a hobby, not necessarily a extraordinary skill. But I feel like, for what Glenn was saying, like those things that we do that are not pure contemplation, but are skills like that, it's music or cooking or dance or whatever. they are sensory pleasures, but they're also learned skills that require a lot of focus and repetition. And I think that's some of the value in the Zen context, is it's a more discrete area of focus where you can actually work on something and notice it getting better. And for me, I don't know about claiming a Satori moment, but those little moments of realization of like, oh, that's how it should be going. If you have those in one domain, you're exactly right, Joe. You can't have them over and over again in that same space, in that same moment, but you can kind of see what they're like. And the purpose of practicing is not to have the Satori moment, but that's the context where they show up, is when you work on something. So you were talking about that kind of that sense of pleasure, and I had this story that I remember. There's a current virtuoso guitar player who tells a story about when he was like a 10-year-old kid, like kneeling in front of the record player listening to Jimi Hendrix play the guitar, and like, why don't any of my 10-year-old friends understand how amazing this is? Like, he was just kind of an odd little kid, but it spoke to him in a very direct way, and then kind of set him on a path where he then spent the next 30 years practicing really hard to become amazing. But some people are prone to that in different domains, I guess, at different points in their life. But I had kind of that, I just had this mental image of this little kid sort of having that, not a realization, but having a connection with somebody just through their art, and trying to pursue it down some path. So I don't have a conclusion about that balance between the traps of the sensory pleasure and the benefits of studying and working on and focusing on something in the moment until you get good at it. But it's an interesting part of my experience, at least.
Something, a line running through this for me has been the feeling of flow. Before I became a Buddhist, they always talk about when you have flow and you're doing something and you don't know what time it is and you're not paying attention to anything else, you're just in the moment, doing what you're doing. And it can be something contemplative. I have felt flow sometimes when I'm crocheting. But for other people, it can be, practicing an instrument or listening to a song. When you listen to a song you love, and that's all you're doing is listening to the song, you're in the moment with the song and you're not doing anything else. And I think those moments can be spiritual and can just be good for you. So, I mean, I understand using things as a crutch, but I think anytime you can reach a feeling of flow, and be in the moment, that does bring you back to, pure awareness of what you're doing.
No, and agreed. That's why we practice meditation, to bring us back to the moment, to be fully engaged in what we are doing at the time that we are doing it. And again, I think because some experiences are so profound, there is the temptation to seek them out over and over again, in the same ways, and so in that way, I think they can become a crutch, because it'll never, going at this from a different angle, the goal of so for me, the goal of Buddhism is to be present in every single moment, and enlightenment is being always attached to the present and engaged in it. finding lots of different ways of entering into that, whether it be through dance or crochet or music or this or that. It's accumulating those moments and building the habit of seeking them out in as many different areas as you can, eventuating in all areas. Whereas because we're human, once we have it in one area, we are inclined to then continue to seek it only in that area to the exclusion of others. And it's been my experience that it just doesn't work that way. But it does work enough that it's valid to practice in that area. So like if you like music and it gets you to where you want to go, by all means keep practicing there, so long as it is building the ability to engage it in other areas as well.
Someone just mentioned online a runner's high, you know, being another form. And, you know, you can do it to a point where it's healthy for you, or you can do it to a point where it's not healthy for you. So I think that's the balance.
I have a spiritual director, and one of the things she's always saying to me, well, first off, I'm amazed that in her therapy or teaching, when she says the word ego, that's always the bad thing. You're not supposed to stay in your ego. And again, this came up here. So then I'm taught, well, you're supposed to know what your feelings are or what your inner self is, which is, of course, I find difficult. But I had an experience recently where I saw several men waiting for an elevator, and they were all bald. And I know that some of the child abuse issues that I'm still dealing with involve a bald man. So I immediately, it's called triggered. So I immediately have this icky feeling. I don't know how to describe it better than it's really uncomfortable. I really can't be in the present. I really don't know what to do with the feeling, but I know I'm triggered and I know to be careful with myself. Lately, she keeps saying, stay with the feeling, which I think is kind of stupid. You know, why would you stay with a feeling that was so icky? But what I've learned is if I can stay with a feeling when it's not overwhelming, and it's not, that it dissipates. And only with that dissipation am I open to ever experiencing more being in the present. So I've been following this advice because it's working, as annoying as it can be. But I'm very grateful there's a route out.
Has anyone not said something that would like to say something? Cool. Well, thanks everybody for participating in my fun little Dharma talk today. Let's finish up on page 4. For those of you that have a practice guide, for those of you that don't, I will just read and we'll go from there. Creations are numberless. I will strive to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I will strive to transform them. Reality is boundless. I will strive to perceive it. The awakened way is unsurpassable. I will strive to embody it. May your thoughts, words, and actions be corrective and encompassing of the pragmatic Buddhist path. May you approach this week with deference and dignity, and may you spread your personal peace to all those you encounter. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings not be separated from sorrowless bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. Swaha.
Uh-huh.
Thanks all. Good to see everybody.
Yeah, enjoy your weeks. Find a good pop song. Come at me with a
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.